What was hard to get over was being blamed for something that not only I didn't do, but that happened to me.
The royal family is known for its elegance, power, and carefully crafted image. But beyond the public smiles and grand traditions, there are stories that have been buried, rewritten, or simply erased. Stories of lost heirs, hidden conflicts, and decisions made in secret. Not everything in their world is meant to be seen, and not every truth is meant to be told. Yet, some secrets have a way of slipping through the cracks. These are 11 things the royal family never wanted the world to find out. 1. Prince Andrew and the Epstein scandal. Prince Andrew's downfall is one of the biggest royal scandals in recent years. But why? What exactly did he do that made the royal family push him away? It all started with his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, a billionaire who was later exposed as a sex offender. Epstein was known for hosting powerful people, politicians, business tycoons, and even royalty. But what raised eyebrows was the fact that even after Epstein was convicted in 2008 for sex crimes, Prince Andrew still stayed in touch with him. There's even a photo of Prince Andrew at Epstein's house in New York in 2010, 2 years after Epstein was already labeled as a sex offender. Why would a prince still be hanging out with a criminal? That's the question everyone started asking. But things got worse. A woman named Virginia Giuffre came forward and accused Prince Andrew of sexually assaulting her when she was 17. She said Epstein and his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, forced her to have encounters with powerful men, including Andrew. There's even a photo of Andrew with his arm around her waist. He denied everything. He said he had never met her, despite the picture. To make things even weirder, Andrew gave an interview to BBC in 2019, trying to explain himself. Instead of clearing his name, the interview became a disaster. He claimed he couldn't have been with Virginia on the day she said because he was at a Pizza Express with his daughter. He also said he couldn't sweat, which was his way of denying her claims that he was sweating all over her during their alleged encounter. People found his excuses bizarre and unconvincing. The backlash was immediate. The royal family quickly distanced themselves from him. The Queen stripped him of his royal titles and military honors. He was told to stop using the title His Royal Highness. He even had to step back from royal duties completely. In 2022, he settled the lawsuit with Virginia Giuffre out of court. Though he never admitted wrongdoing, the settlement reportedly cost him millions. The royal family has tried to erase him from public life. He is no longer allowed to represent them in any official way. But the damage was done. The world will always remember his connection to Epstein and the scandal that rocked the monarchy. 2. The mysterious death of Princess Diana. Princess Diana was loved by millions. She wasn't just a princess. She was a symbol of kindness and compassion. But in 1997, her life was cut short in a tragic car crash in Paris. Even after all these years, many people still believe that her death wasn't just an accident. On August 31, 1997, Diana and her boyfriend, Dodi Fied, were trying to escape paparazzi in Paris. Their driver, Henri Paul, was speeding through a tunnel when he lost control of the car and crashed. Diana was severely injured and later died at the hospital. Officially, it was ruled an accident, and the driver was found to be intoxicated. But was it really that simple? Dodi Fied's father, Mohammed Al-Fayed, believed that Diana and Dodi were killed on purpose. He claimed that the royal family didn't want Diana to marry Dodi because he was Muslim. Some believe that MI6, the British Secret Service, was involved. Another strange detail? There were reports that Diana feared for her life before she died. In a letter she allegedly wrote in 1995, she said, "My husband is planning an accident in my car, brake failure and serious head injury." She was talking about Prince Charles. The biggest question is, why did the royal family act so coldly after her death? When news broke, the Queen stayed silent. She didn't return to London immediately, and there was no public statement. People were furious. They saw Diana as the people's princess, but the royal family didn't seem to care. Eventually, the Queen addressed the nation, and there was a grand funeral. But to this day, Many believe that there was more to Diana's death than what we were told. Was it just a tragic accident? Or was something more sinister at play? 3. King Edward VIII and his Nazi connections. Imagine this. A king who gives up his throne. Not because of politics, not because of scandal, but because he fell in love. Sounds romantic, right? That's what many people think about King Edward VIII. But there's a darker side to his story. Edward was king for less than a year in 1936. He fell in love with an American woman named Wallis Simpson. The problem? She was twice divorced, and the British government didn't approve. Edward had to choose his throne or his love. He chose love and abdicated the throne. His brother King George VI, the father of Queen Elizabeth II, took over. But here's the part. History books don't talk about much. Edward had ties to the Nazis. After giving up the throne, he and Wallis moved to France and later visited Nazi Germany. There's even a photo of him shaking hands with Adolf Hitler in 1937. Many believe that Edward was a Nazi sympathizer. Some historians even claim that Hitler wanted to reinstall Edward as king if Germany won World War II. There were secret government files suggesting that Edward had communicated with the Nazis about a possible peace deal. The British government tried to suppress this information. They sent Edward and Wallis far away, to the Bahamas, where they couldn't cause trouble. To this day, the royal family rarely talks about Edward's Nazi connections. They prefer to focus on the love story, not the controversy. 4. Prince Charles's secret letters and political influence. The royal family is supposed to stay neutral in politics. But what if a future king secretly tried to influence the government? That's exactly what Prince Charles did for years. Between 2004 and 2005, Charles wrote a series of letters to government ministers. These letters, later known as the Black Spider Memos because of his messy handwriting, revealed how he was lobbying politicians on various issues. What was he writing about? Everything from environmental policies to alternative medicine, even military equipment. He wasn't just making polite suggestions, he was trying to push the government in certain directions. For years, these letters were kept secret. The British government refused to release them, arguing that they would damage the idea of a politically neutral monarchy. But in 2015, after a long legal battle, the letters were finally published. Many people were shocked. Should a royal, especially a future king, be involved in politics like this? The monarchy is meant to stay out of government decisions. If Charles was this politically active as a prince, what would he be like as king? After the letters came out, Charles became more careful. He publicly stated that when he becomes king, he will stay neutral. But can someone who spent decades trying to influence politics suddenly stop? That's the big question. 5. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's departure. When Meghan Markle first joined the royal family, people were excited. An American actress becoming a princess, it felt like a fairy tale. But that fairy tale quickly turned into a nightmare. Meghan faced harsh treatment from the British press. Headlines attacked everything she did. If Kate Middleton wore a dress, she was stunning. If Meghan wore the same dress, she was breaking royal protocol. The media criticized her for everything. Her background, her past relationships, even the way she held her baby bump. But the real shock came when Meghan and Harry revealed what happened behind palace doors. In their interview with Oprah, Meghan said she felt alone, trapped, and even suicidal. She asked for help. She was told no. Can you imagine feeling so hopeless and not having anyone to turn to? The most shocking part? Meghan and Harry claimed that a royal family member, someone very close to the throne, asked how dark their son Archie's skin would be. Racism, secrecy, and control. It was too much for them. In 2020, they stepped down from their royal roles and moved to the US. Some people called them traitors. Others believed they were standing up for themselves. And how did the royal family respond? In a short statement, they said they were saddened, but that recollections may vary. In other words, they denied most of what Meghan and Harry had said. No apology, no real discussion, just damage control. What do you think? Were Meghan and Harry right to leave? Or did they turn their backs on the crown? The Queen's hidden wealth and tax avoidance. The royal family is rich. Not just a little rich, crazy rich. Castles, gold, priceless jewels, you name it. But here's the real question. Where does their money come from? And do they pay taxes like the rest of us? For years, people have asked how much the Queen, now King Charles, was really worth. The palace never gives a clear answer. But in 2017, something shocking was revealed. The Paradise Papers. These leaked documents showed that the Queen had secretly invested millions of pounds in offshore tax havens. Now, let's be clear. What she did wasn't illegal. But it raised a big ethical question. Why is the Queen hiding her money in secret accounts, while regular people struggle to pay their taxes? The monarchy also benefits from special tax rules. The royal family gets money from the sovereign grant, which is funded by British taxpayers. But did you know that they don't have to pay inheritance tax like everyone else? Normally, when someone dies, their family has to pay 40% of anything over £325,000. But when Queen Elizabeth passed away, King Charles didn't have to pay a single penny on what he inherited from her. Why? Because of a special rule made just for the monarchy. And if you're thinking, well, at least they released their full financial details, think again. Unlike other public figures, the royal family doesn't have to show where all their money goes. They keep a lot of it hidden. Should they be more transparent? Or is it fair for them to have different rules than the rest of us? The cover-up of Prince Philip's car crash. Imagine this. You're driving down the road, minding your own business, when an elderly man crashes into your car. You're injured. Your child is terrified. Now imagine that the man who hit you is none other than Prince Philip, the husband of the Queen. That's exactly what happened in 2019. Prince Philip, who was 97 years old at the time, was driving near Sandringham Estate when he hit another car. The crash flipped his Land Rover over. The woman in the other car suffered a broken wrist. There was a baby in the back seat. Thankfully, the baby was unharmed. Now, in a normal situation, what would happen? The police would investigate. Charges might be filed. The driver would likely face some consequences. But this wasn't a normal situation. This was royalty. The palace quickly went into damage control. Within 24 hours, Prince Philip was seen driving again, in a brand new Land Rover. No charges were filed. The whole situation was brushed under the rug. After a lot of public backlash, Philip finally wrote an apology letter to the injured woman. But many people felt it was too little, too late. Here's the big question. Should the royal family be treated like regular citizens when they break the law? Or should they always get a free pass? The Forgotten Royal. Have you ever heard of Prince John? Probably not. And there's a reason for that. Prince John was the youngest son of King George V and Queen Mary. He was born in 1905, but unlike his royal brothers and sisters, he was kept hidden from the public. Why? Because he had epilepsy. At that time, disabilities were seen as shameful in the royal family. They didn't want people to know they had a weak member in their bloodline. So, as John's condition worsened, they sent him away to live in a small house away from the main palace. His own parents rarely visited him. He was basically erased from history while he was still alive. Prince John died at just 13 years old after suffering a severe seizure. And do you know how the royal family reacted? His father reportedly showed little emotion and said John's death was a relief. His mother later wrote in her diary that John was better off this way. Can you imagine that? A child suffering from a medical condition, completely hidden away, and then dismissed like he never existed. It's heartbreaking. The scandalous love life of Princess Margaret. Princess Margaret, the younger sister of Queen Elizabeth II, lived a life that felt straight out of a movie. She was beautiful, bold, and rebellious. But unlike in fairy tales, her love life was full of heartbreak, scandals, and royal restrictions. Let's start with the man who became the center of one of the biggest royal love scandals, Peter Townsend. Who was he? He wasn't a prince, not a king, not even a duke. He was a simple, hard-working man who served as an officer in the Royal Air Force. He was also a war hero and, most importantly, a gentleman. Margaret fell deeply in love with him, but there was a problem. A huge one. Peter was divorced. And back then, in the 1950s, the British royal family did not approve of divorces, especially when it came to choosing a life partner. The Church of England, which the Queen was the head of, had strict rules. They believed that once you were married, that was it. Forever. No second chances. And Margaret, being the Queen's sister, had to follow those rules. But love doesn't follow rules, does it? Margaret and Peter were deeply in love and wanted to get married. When the public found out, people were divided. Some supported her, believing she should be able to choose her own happiness. Others believed the rules were the rules, and she should obey them. So, what did the royal family do? They sent Peter away. Literally. He was posted to Belgium to separate them. Imagine that. Being forced to say goodbye to the person you love just because others don't approve. But Margaret still didn't give up. When she turned 25, she had the right to choose for herself. If she wanted, she could have married Peter without needing the Queen's permission. But then, something unexpected happened. She gave him up. She released a statement saying she had decided not to marry him, choosing duty over love. Some believe she was pressured into it. Others think she realized life with Peter wouldn't be easy. Whatever the truth, she lost the love of her life. So did Margaret ever find love again? She did. But her next relationships were far from fairy tale romances. She ended up marrying Anthony Armstrong Jones, a photographer. At first, it seemed like a perfect match. But behind closed doors, things were different. Their marriage was full of fights, cheating, and unhappiness. Margaret had affairs, Anthony had affairs, and eventually, they became the first royal couple in 400 years to get divorced. 10. Queen Elizabeth's censorship of royal archives. Now, here's something that not many people know about. The secrets hidden in the royal archives. You see, history is supposed to belong to everyone, right? We should be able to learn from it, study it, and understand what really happened. But when it comes to the British royal family, some things are off limits. The royal archives hold thousands of documents, letters, and files related to the monarchy. Some of these papers are over 100 years old, and yet, they are still locked away. Why? What could be so secret that even historians aren't allowed to see them? One of the biggest areas of secrecy is Britain's colonial history. During the time of the British Empire, many dark things happened. Wars, invasions, and even human rights abuses. But instead of being open about it, many documents were destroyed or hidden. There are stories of how, before certain countries gained independence, British officials burned piles of records so no one would ever know the truth. And then there are the royal decisions. There have been times when the royal family influenced politics in ways the public was never supposed to know. The Queen, for example, had secret powers to review and block laws before they were passed. Some of these laws had to do with money, land, and royal privileges. So, why keep all this hidden? The official reason is to protect the dignity of the monarchy. But in reality, it's about controlling the story. If people learned too much about the darker side of royal history, would they still see the monarchy the same way? Many historians have tried to gain access to these files. Some have fought legal battles to open them. But most of the time, the answer is no. The Queen had the power to keep certain documents sealed for up to 100 years, meaning that even today, we might never know the full truth about some of the most important events in royal history. 11. The mystery of the lost royal fortune. Here's a question for you. What happens to all the royal money when a king or queen dies? Does it get split among the family? Does it go to charity? Or does it just disappear? The British royal family is worth billions of dollars, but their wealth is tricky. Some of it comes from the Crown Estate, which is a massive collection of land, buildings, and businesses. This estate makes a lot of money every year, but the royal family doesn't actually own it. It belongs to the state. They just get a portion of the profits. But then there's the private royal wealth. This includes castles, jewelry, art, and secret bank accounts. When a monarch dies, all of this gets passed down in a way that is completely hidden from the public. Unlike normal people, The royal family doesn't have to pay inheritance tax when wealth is transferred from one monarch to the next. This means they can keep millions, maybe even billions, without losing a single penny to taxes. And then there's the offshore accounts. Some leaked documents, like the Paradise Papers, revealed that the Queen had money invested in secret funds outside of the UK. This isn't illegal, but it raises big questions. If the royal family is funded by taxpayers, shouldn't people know where their money is going? The British royal family has done an incredible job of keeping secrets. Whether it's love, history, or money, there are things they simply don't want the public to know. But in today's world, where information spreads faster than ever, how much longer can they keep these secrets? What do you think? Should the monarchy be more open? Or do they have the right to privacy? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Because the truth deserves to be heard.
And I have been so deeply moved and humbled by their truly remarkable courage and by their selfless capacity for forgiveness, despite all that they have suffered.
King Charles can finally share what happened is sure to make jaws drop. For decades, rumors and whispers surrounded the real story behind Charles and Diana's marriage, leaving fans with burning questions. Now, after years of regret and hidden truth, Charles is ready to spill the details that could change everything we thought we knew. From unexpected revelations to shocking confessions, nothing remains off limits in this tell-all.
And I also wanted to say how particularly moved and enormously comforted my children and I were, and indeed still are, by the public response to Diana's death.
Are you ready to hear the scandal that could rewrite entire royal history? Early spotlight on King Charles. From the moment he was born on November 14, 1948, King Charles lived in the public eye like few others. Being the first child of Queen Elizabeth II placed him in line for the British throne at just a few years old. As soon as his mother succeeded to the throne in 1952, Charles's every move became news. Journalists and photographers followed him constantly, capturing everything from his first steps to his school outings. This early attention brought both excitement and hardship. On one hand, Charles enjoyed privileges such as living in grand palaces and traveling around the world with his parents. On the other hand, the weight of future responsibility cast a long shadow. He could not simply play outside without a chaperone, or make casual friends without those friendships ending up in the papers. Knowing that he would eventually become king brought an expectation of perfect behavior and never-ending etiquette lessons. As a child, Charles took part in public events that most people never experience. He had to attend formal ceremonies, greet dignitaries, and smile for countless photographs. His parents were often busy with their own duties, so he sometimes felt distant from them. This early exposure to royal life taught him that leadership is more than just ribbon cutting and waving. It involves representing an entire nation and keeping up an image of respect and tradition. Yet Charles remained a curious young boy, eager to learn. He loved the outdoors, playing sports and exploring nature whenever possible. Despite all the ceremony around him, he tried to embrace any normal childhood moment he could find. This dual existence, being both a young heir and a child wanting freedom, shaped his perspective on duty and personal happiness. Over the years, the world watched him grow, picking apart every detail of his upbringing, from his choice of school to his friendships. While the spotlight was harsh, it also formed him into the resolute individual he would become. He learned to handle media pressure, stand by his values, and balance tradition with personal growth. Those early years in the public eye laid the groundwork for his eventual role as Britain's monarch. Challenging childhood. Although King Charles was born into privilege, his childhood was far from easy. In public, he seemed to have it all: a royal title, a future throne, and enrollment in prestigious schools. But behind the castle walls, he faced emotional hurdles that shaped who he is today. He often spoke of feeling somewhat isolated, since his parents, Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, had demanding schedules and many official duties. As a result, they were often away, leaving young Charles under the care of nannies and tutors. He once admitted that his parents could be both physically and emotionally distant. Growing up under such circumstances, he struggled to find genuine warmth and affection. Many times his reserved nature was misunderstood as aloofness, but it stemmed from a lack of open, playful interaction within his family. Like any sensitive child, he longed for approval and closeness. Additionally, constant media attention made it hard for him to form normal friendships. Classmates sometimes teased him, either because of his royal status or his gentle nature. While many assume being a prince meant an easy life, it actually invited extra scrutiny. Every quirk or emotion he showed sparked feedback from both peers and the wider public. This pressure taught him to shield his feelings, shaping the more guarded side of his personality that people would later observe. However, these hardships also contributed to his ability to empathize with others, since he knew how it felt to be lonely and misunderstood. Charles developed a softer side. In time, he became known for his desire to protect the environment and uplift charitable causes. There is a belief that his early emotional battles gave him a strong sense of compassion for the struggles of everyday people. Overcoming a challenging childhood was no small feat. Charles had to navigate formal expectations, media glare, and his own yearning for unconditional love. These factors fueled both his insecurities and his determination to do well by his future subjects. In many ways, his youthful trials served as stepping stones toward a more empathetic approach to leadership, highlighting how even a prince can grow through adversity. Gordontown School experience. Gordontown School became a defining chapter of King Charles's youth. Founded by German educator Kurt Hahn, the school was known for its strict discipline, outdoor challenges, and emphasis on self-reliance. Prince Philip, Charles's father, believed that Gordontown would make his son tougher, more independent, and ready for the demands of royal life. Though the school was among the most respected in the United Kingdom, it was also notorious for its rigorous routines. For young Charles, the transition was tough. He was a sensitive boy, more inclined toward quiet reflection than braving cold mornings and adventure drills. At Gordontown, students were expected to wake up early to take cold showers, keep their dormitories spotless, and participate in various sports. The school highlighted character growth through hardship, a principle that clashed with Charles's gentle manner. He found the days exhausting and sometimes felt overwhelmed by the physical demands and the teasing he faced from classmates. Still, he would later admit that his time at Gordontown shaped his resilience and helped him discover inner strengths. He learned how to handle criticism, adapt to unfamiliar settings, and rely on himself in challenging situations. In a 1975 interview, he reflected that the school taught him much about his own abilities, hinting that the difficulties sparked personal growth. He also said that his father's insistence on sending him there, though harsh at times, forced him to confront the real world in ways a pampered prince rarely would. Beyond discipline, Gordontown offered Charles opportunities in leadership. The school believed in giving senior students responsibility to oversee younger ones, which helped Charles practice guiding and supporting peers. He also found moments to appreciate nature, exploring the rugged landscape surrounding the campus. That closeness with nature might have nurtured his lifelong advocacy for environmental causes. Despite the strictness, he later expressed gratitude for his Gordontown experience. While he often joked that his father's choice of school was a harsh move for someone so sensitive, he ultimately acknowledged its benefits. By enduring trials of physical endurance, structure, and teamwork, Charles discovered personal qualities that would serve him well as he prepared for the responsibilities of a future king. University education king. Charles's choice to attend university was a defining moment that broke royal tradition and sparked debate within the British royal family. Typically, heirs to the throne were expected to enter military service straight after their formal schooling. However, Charles had other plans. After completing his A-levels at Gordontown, he announced his intent to pursue a degree at the University of Cambridge. Many in the royal circle were uneasy about this decision, fearing it might reflect poorly on him as a future monarch. Critics claimed it showed a lack of discipline and a desire to dodge the rigors of military life. Yet Charles stood firm, determined to prove that scholarship and service could go hand in hand. Despite the stir it caused, his time at Cambridge became an invaluable experience. He studied anthropology, archaeology, and history, eventually earning a second-class lower Bachelor of Arts, an achievement that made him the first British heir apparent to receive a university degree. During his studies, the media kept a close watch on his every move. Reports of Charles strolling through campus with classmates or attending social events always made headlines, reflecting a public keenly curious about how he would balance academic pursuits with his royal obligations. For Charles, this period was about more than attending lectures and writing essays. It allowed him a taste of relative independence, a chance to mingle with fellow students and immerse himself in intellectual debate. He engaged in discussions ranging from historical events to global challenges, broadening his cultural awareness. This exposure seemed to strengthen his worldview and shape his future philanthropic interests. In particular, experiencing life beyond palace walls helped him understand ordinary people's struggles, an understanding that would later influence his passion for charitable causes. Still, not everyone was so accepting of his academic adventure. Some family members felt that time spent away from official duties hindered his readiness for the crown. Yet, Charles's resolve only grew stronger in the face of doubt. Even as tension brewed within the royal household, he persisted, focusing on exams and forming friendships that would last for years. Military career. After earning his university degree, King Charles turned his attention to the military, a path many had expected him to follow from the start. Criticism had built up when he initially postponed his service, with voices suggesting he feared the harsh environment. Yet Charles was determined to prove otherwise. Early in his second year at Cambridge, he requested Royal Air Force training, surprising both the public and members of his family. This move signaled his readiness to take on physically and mentally demanding challenges. Charles began his preparatory instruction by studying a range of technical subjects, including aerodynamics, navigation, and aviation medicine. According to Air Chief Marshal Sir Richard Johns, who oversaw parts of Charles's training, the young man displayed remarkable concentration and a fierce determination to excel. While critics still questioned whether a sensitive prince could handle strict discipline, Charles's instructors saw a different side, a focused student who refused to fail. His military journey didn't end with the RAF. Charles soon embarked on a career in the Royal Navy, following in the footsteps of his father and grandfather. He took an accelerated course at Britannia Royal Naval College, quickly adjusting to life on ships, destroyers, and frigates. Over time, he served as a gunnery officer on the HMS Minerva and took on responsibilities that tested both his leadership and technical skills. His active involvement in real operations, such as monitoring a Soviet submarine, showcased his calm under pressure and willingness to adapt to life at sea. One highlight of Charles's service was his development as a pilot. He spent countless hours in the cockpit, perfecting maneuvers and formation flying. His dedication paid off when he earned the Double Diamond Trophy, marking him as one of the top pilots in his class. Eventually, Charles advanced to commanding officer of the minesweeper HMS Brownington, where he led a small crew through routine exercises and real missions involving leftover World War II ordnance. By December 1976, he concluded his active military career with the rank of commander. Though some once doubted his ability to withstand rigorous training, he left with a record that spoke volumes about his commitment and skill. In many ways, his time in uniform demonstrated that a future monarch could balance tradition with personal ambition, all while earning the respect of both royal and military circles. It was one more stepping stone on a journey that would soon lead him to a deeply complex chapter of life. Meeting Princess Diana. Meeting Princess Diana. The story of King Charles meeting Princess Diana often leads to mention of a shooting party hosted by Diana's older sister, Sarah. But according to Charles himself, their very first meeting happened in a less glamorous setting, a freshly plowed field. In that moment, Diana was a shy 16-year-old, while Charles was in his late 20s, dating Sarah. Despite the age gap and the prince's existing relationship, Diana captured Charles's attention. He was charmed by her youthful spirit and unique warmth, but with his eyes fixed on Sarah at the time, he barely acted on those feelings. Not long after, Charles joined Sarah for a ski trip, and their blossoming relationship was widely documented by the media, who celebrated them as a potential match. Behind the scenes, though, something else was happening. During a gathering at Sarah's invitation, Charles and Diana ended up talking in private. She led him on a brief tour of her home's gallery, and he found her kindness and energy irresistible, even if he couldn't publicly show it. Meanwhile, Diana was flattered by the prince's genuine interest. Yet the situation was far from simple. Sarah was still very much in the picture. In a surprising twist, Sarah herself ended up ending the relationship with Charles. She gave a frank interview to a magazine, boldly stating she was not in love with him, nor had any intention of marrying into the royal family. The public was stunned, considering how they had seemed happy together during their ski outings. Within months, Sarah married someone else, causing the media to pivot and focus on the evolving connection between Charles and Diana. With Sarah now out of the equation, Charles felt freer to pursue the younger sister who had captivated him from that first encounter. Still, there were unavoidable concerns about their 12-year age difference and Diana's limited experience with the public eye. Undeterred, they began seeing more of each other. The royal family, always conscious of appearances, kept a close watch on their dates, intrigued by the possibility that Diana might be a suitable bride for the future king. Marriage to Diana. The marriage of King Charles and Princess Diana was hailed as the event of the century, a dazzling ceremony watched by hundreds of millions worldwide. From the outside, it looked like the ultimate fairy tale. Royal pomp, horse-drawn carriages, and a stunning bride adored by onlookers everywhere she went. Yet beneath the grand displays of love and pageantry, trouble brewed. Diana, who was only 20 when she wed the future king, soon found that royal life was far more complex than she had imagined. One early warning sign came during their engagement interview. When asked if they were in love, Diana confidently said yes, but Charles replied, "Whatever in love means." His awkward response drew public concern, and privately, Diana admitted that it hurt. Troubles mounted further during their engagement when she discovered Charles had purchased a gift for his ex-girlfriend, Camilla Parker Bowles. Though Diana considered calling off the wedding, she pressed on, buoyed by her sister's support, but harboring deep fears about Charles's loyalty. Their wedding day remained a spectacle of joy, at least to the millions watching on television. Behind the scenes, however, cracks formed in the marriage almost immediately. Diana struggled with the relentless scrutiny of the press and the expectations placed on her as a royal wife. Charles, meanwhile, did little to hide his lingering attachment to Camilla, fueling Diana's worries and later her heartbreak. Over time, the emotional strain took a visible toll. Diana spoke openly about her feelings of inadequacy, and Charles, unsure how to handle her distress, seemed to drift further away. Eventually, the rumors of Charles's ongoing affair became impossible to ignore. Diana confronted Camilla directly, pleading for her to leave Charles alone. When that failed, the tension boiled over, leaving Diana feeling more isolated than ever. The media, hungry for drama, devoured every hint of conflict. The final blow arrived when intimate phone conversations between Charles and Camilla leaked to the press, exposing the true extent of their relationship. Faced with a scandal that rocked the monarchy, Charles publicly admitted the affair. A deeply wounded Diana, in turn, shared her side in televised interviews, famously remarking that, "There were 3 of us in this marriage." In 1992, they formally separated, finalizing their divorce in 1996. What began as a fairy tale had become a cautionary story of love, betrayal, and public intrusion, forever shaping how the world viewed the House of Windsor and the couple at its center. Infidelity and marital troubles. The marriage of King Charles and Princess Diana was once the world's favorite fairy tale, but underlying tensions and hidden affections soon cast a shadow over their union. Early on, Diana sensed Charles's lingering fondness for his former flame, Camilla Parker Bowles. Although Diana hoped that marriage and motherhood would draw Charles closer, those dreams gradually faded as Camilla remained in the picture. Hurt and confused, Diana confronted Charles about the gift he had bought Camilla shortly before their wedding, an omen that her new life might not be a peaceful one. Taking on royal duties brought more public attention, leaving little room for private resolutions. Diana tried to hold her marriage together despite feeling increasingly overshadowed by Camilla's presence. Pleas and direct confrontations proved fruitless. Charles, meanwhile, seemed torn between his sense of duty to Diana and his emotional history with Camilla. Eventually, their marital strains spilled over into media reports, fueling endless tabloid gossip. Every time Diana appeared at a public event looking downcast or teary-eyed, The press speculated about Charles's behavior and the cracks in their relationship. The unsustainable tension came to a head when intimate phone conversations between Charles and Camilla leaked, confirming beyond doubt that the prince had continued his affair. The tapes featured candid exchanges, revealing the depth of their emotional bond. As these calls became front-page news, any hope of salvaging the royal marriage dimmed. In a bid to manage the crisis, Charles sat down for a televised interview where he finally admitted to cheating on Diana. This public confession shattered the prince's carefully managed image of respectability and left Diana feeling betrayed on a global stage. Although the divorce was still months away, the emotional damage was done. Diana's heartbreak and Charles's public mea culpa generated an unending storm of media scrutiny. Many who had idolized Charles for his dedication to royal duty now questioned his character. Some sympathized with Diana, seeing her as a young woman thrust into an unforgiving spotlight and betrayed by her husband's continued closeness to Camilla. Others blamed both sides, arguing that royal life created pressures no marriage could endure. By the time legal separation became official, the couple's relationship had devolved into a series of painful headlines and regretful revelations. What started as a storybook wedding in front of nearly 1 billion onlookers turned into a cautionary tale of unresolved past relationships, public obsession, and the heavy toll of infidelity on even the most glamorous unions. Diana's struggles and legacy. When Diana entered the royal family, many saw her as the embodiment of a real-life Cinderella. A shy, young nursery school assistant swept up in a dazzling romance with the future king. Yet almost from the start, she struggled beneath the intense spotlight and the rigid protocols of royal life. Her natural warmth often clashed with the formal reserve expected of a princess, and every misstep drew tabloid headlines. Over time, these pressures took a serious emotional toll, leaving her feeling isolated and unsure of whom to trust. Beyond her marital woes, Diana battled personal insecurities. She spoke candidly about her struggle with bulimia, which she traced directly to the emotional pain and self-doubt she experienced in her relationship with Charles. Whenever she felt anxious about an upcoming event or a perceived rejection, the pressure became unbearable. Her willingness to open up about bulimia shattered royal norms, exposing a frank vulnerability that endeared her to millions who recognized their own battles in her story. Despite these struggles, Diana found her own voice and sense of purpose through humanitarian work. Early on, she displayed a gift for connecting with people from all walks of life. Children facing critical illness, victims of poverty, and those living with HIV/AIDS all found a compassionate ally in Diana, who wasn't afraid to kneel down, embrace them, and show a human touch that broke centuries of royal formality. This empathy became a hallmark of her public persona, earning her the nickname, the People's Princess. Even as her marriage unraveled, Diana's global reputation soared, buoyed by her devotion to charitable causes. She visited hospitals, comforted the sick, and championed controversial topics like landmine clearance. Though her personal life remained fraught with heartbreak, Diana's work on behalf of the marginalized offered a sense of meaning. In telling the world about her own pain, she helped to break stigmas surrounding mental health while using her platform to shine a spotlight on overlooked communities. By the time she and Charles divorced, Diana's place in history had already been secured. Her tragic death in 1997 only cemented her status as a beloved icon whose struggles made her relatable and whose compassion inspired countless others. Today, her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, carry her legacy forward with their own charitable projects and public engagements. Through them and the countless lives she touched, Diana's spirit endures, reminding the world of the power in empathy, vulnerability, and the courage to speak one's truth.
We have reports from Paris that Diana, Princess of Wales, has been killed in a car accident, and that her partner, Dodi Fied, has also been killed.
For years, people have wondered if there was more to Princess Diana's death than what we were told. Many believe it wasn't just a simple accident, that powerful people might have been involved, and that the truth was hidden from the world. Now, Joe Rogan has revealed something shocking. A list of names connected to Diana's tragic death. These are people who were never supposed to be linked to what happened that night. Who are they? Why was their involvement kept secret? And if this list is real, what does it mean for everything we thought we knew? The truth may finally be coming to light, and it's more chilling than anyone could have imagined. What did Joe Rogan actually say? All right, let's start with the moment that caught everyone off guard. Joe Rogan, sitting there on his podcast, just casually dropped a bomb. In his usual laid-back way, he leaned back, laughed a little, and then said something that made everyone stop scrolling. There's a list out there, man. Names of politicians, intelligence officers, even royalty, all with ties to that car crash. He wasn't joking. You know how sometimes Joe goes off on those wild tangents? This didn't feel like that. He sounded serious, curious, but serious. You could hear it in his voice. He wasn't trying to be dramatic, but it was clear he had heard something big. Now, if you've followed Joe for a while, you know he talks about conspiracies a lot. Aliens, secret societies, cover-ups, you name it. But this felt different. There was something in his tone, like even he wasn't sure if he should be talking about it. He didn't sound like he was just repeating a random internet rumor. It sounded like someone told him, someone on the inside. And guess what? He wasn't alone in this conversation. Sitting across from him was one of his more serious guests. Not a comedian, not a random dude with a theory, but a guy with real connections, a former intelligence officer. You could tell this man had seen some stuff. He chose his words carefully, like he knew too much, but was still holding back. Joe asked him, half joking but half dead serious, "Are you telling me there's actually a list? Like, an actual list of people involved in Princess Diana's death?" The guest paused, smiled just a little, and then said, "Let's just say, if you dig deep enough, you'll find names you never expected." And man, that right there gave me chills. Because it wasn't a yes, and it wasn't a no. It was like a warning. A hint that there's way more to this story than we've ever been told. Now, Joe didn't read the list or give out names right there. But he did say that what he heard was shocking. Politicians, intelligence agents, royalty, people with power, real power. And Joe kept circling back to the same thing. Why would all these powerful people need Diana out of the way? And that's where the rabbit hole really starts. Who's allegedly on the list? Now let's talk about the most important part, the list itself. If this list really exists, who the hell is on it? Because this isn't just some random hit job. This was the death of one of the most loved women in the world. MI6 operatives. First up, the MI6. If you don't know, MI6 is basically Britain's version of the CIA. These are the people who operate in the shadows. According to the theory, they were watching Diana. Hard. She was getting way too popular. Her humanitarian work, her relationship with Dodi, her influence, it made her a threat to the people in power. Some say that MI6 had been following Diana for months. There are even claims they used a light flash tactic that night. Basically, they blind the driver with a super bright light, causing him to crash. It sounds crazy, right? But the scary part is, this is an actual tactic used in espionage. Royal family connections. Now here's where things get even darker. The royal family. Yup, you heard that right. There have always been rumors that certain members of the royal family were not exactly fans of Diana. Prince Philip in particular gets mentioned a lot. Some people say he openly disliked her. And you know what's crazy? Diana herself once said, "They're going to kill me." She told her lawyer, her butler, even wrote it down in a letter. She was scared. She felt like someone was out to get her. And the theory is, maybe she was right. British politicians. Next, we've got some big names from British politics. According to the story Joe heard, some powerful politicians were terrified of Diana's growing influence. She was speaking out on issues most people were too scared to touch. Landmines, poverty, AIDS. She was shining a light on stuff people wanted to keep hidden. And then there's the business side. Diana was going after the landmine industry. And that, my friends, is big money. You think the politicians funding those arms deals wanted her ruining their business? Not a chance. French intelligence and police. Then, there's the French side of things. After all, the crash happened. In Paris, right? So where were the French police that night? Why were so many cameras in that tunnel turned off? Doesn't that seem odd? Some people think the French intelligence was in on it too. Maybe they didn't plan it, but they sure didn't stop it. Maybe they helped cover it up. There's just too much that doesn't add up. Too many missing pieces. Media moguls and paparazzi. And of course, we can't forget the paparazzi. Those guys were all over Diana every single day. But the question is, who was paying them? Who really financed that crazy chase through the streets of Paris? It wasn't just about getting a photo. Some say the media was being used as a weapon. Keep the pressure on. Keep chasing. And eventually, something's gonna give. Dodi Fied's enemies. Finally, we've got Dodi Fied's side. His father, Mohammed al-Fayed, has been screaming for years that this was a plot. A racist plot. He believed the British establishment didn't want Diana marrying a Muslim. Think about it. Diana, the mother of the future king, having a baby with Dodi Fied, that would change everything. It would shake the royal family to its core, and some people would do anything to stop that. Evidence supporting the conspiracies. Now you're probably wondering, what's the proof? What makes people believe all this? Well, buckle up, because once you hear the facts, it's hard to unsee them. First off, Diana wasn't wearing a seatbelt. That's what they tell us. But here's the thing. Diana always wore her seatbelt. Everyone close to her said that. So why wasn't she wearing it that night? Did someone tamper with the car? Or was there another reason? Then there's the CCTV footage. Guess what? Almost every camera in that tunnel was switched off or not working that night. Out of all nights, it just happens to be the night Diana dies. What are the odds of that? And then there's that mysterious white Fiat Uno. Witnesses saw it speeding away from the crash, but it was never found. Never. It just vanished. Some say it was part of the plan, a way to force the car off the road, but no one ever tracked it down. Let's talk about Henri Paul, the driver. The official report says he was drunk, but later tests showed his blood alcohol level didn't match the way he was acting just minutes before the crash. He wasn't stumbling, he wasn't slurring. Something doesn't add up there. And here's the part that still gives me goosebumps. Diana knew something was going to happen. She literally wrote it down. They are planning an accident in my car. She felt it. She knew. And no one listened. There have been books, documentaries, even official investigations like Operation Paget. They've looked at all of this, but somehow, the official story never really changes. They keep saying it was just a tragic accident. But was it? And that brings us back to Joe Rogan. Where did he hear this? Did someone pass him this information? A whistleblower maybe? Or is he just connecting the dots like so many of us do? Either way, when someone like Joe Rogan talks about it, people listen. And honestly, after hearing all this, it's hard not to wonder, what if that list really does exist? What if it's sitting in a safe somewhere, with names that would shock the world? Why would these people want Diana gone? So, the big question, why? Why would all these powerful people want Diana dead? The answer is simple. Power. Control. Diana was loved by millions. She was bigger than the royal family itself. Everywhere she went, cameras followed. She had a voice, and she used it. And not everyone liked what she had to say. Her campaign against landmines threatened billion-dollar deals. Her relationship with Dodi threatened royal traditions. And let's be honest, she was unpredictable. They couldn't control her. And people in power, they hate what they can't control. And maybe, just maybe, someone decided it was easier to make sure she was gone. Now, I don't know about you, but hearing all this makes me wonder, what else don't we know? If this list is real, how long before it finally comes out? How many secrets are still buried with Diana? And here's the scariest part.